watch this?
How?
Ew,
How do you watch this? Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hello, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week one of us reviews a movie in the genre the other loves, but we don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And our common thread, if you remember, was movies
That the title is a girl's name.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an easier way to say that.
Yeah,
but
I was like, as I wrote it down in the common thread there, I was like, this is, all right, okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, so this week is a horror week.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting with the movie M3GAN that Demi recommended.
Yes.
I think in part because she likes that it's the same name as me.
Yep.
Although it's not quite the same name because my mother didn't give me a 3 instead of an E.
It's true. Yeah.
So the movie is M3GAN. Genre is horror suspense. Directed by Gerard Johnstone.
Mm-hmm.
That is okay. Gerard Johnstone.
Mm-hmm.
Released in 2022. Snapshot. Toy designer / AI aficionado finds inspiration when given custody of her newly orphaned niece. Unfortunately, the doll she created has a mind of its own. So, we're switching up the format a little bit. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I just realized that people might be like, wait, what's going on?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. If you skipped over last week, we made a few adjustments, some changes. So, we're just going to do the horror movie this week. And next week, we'll do the romance, which we'll announce at the end of the episode.
Yep.
So, you'll be hearing a lot of my voice.
Mostly Megan's voice. Lovely voice this week.
Thanks. I did my notes differently since it was going to be the main one, so we'll see how we like
You're
it.
going to be setting the standard for me, so.
Well, we'll see, because if it's horrible, then we'll revert. Okay, so the movie opens on an ad for a horrific toy.
Perpetual pets. Like, what an opening. What a start.
I was like, what? Because here's the thing, too, is I'm watching it on a streaming service, so it starts already with an ad.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's starting on Prime with an ad, and then you have your intro, and then you have another ad, and I was like, what's happening? Is this like a
real
purposeful?
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like a haunting Furby.
It genuinely,
Yeah.
it's like,
Furbies, I guess, are already haunting, but
even more so, because the mouth
it's just,
I don't know who decided. They had to have been like cackling when they designed
it was
this.
awful.
Because the mouth is just like, it's like one of the animatronic mouths.
Yeah, it's just teeth, like tiny teeth.
Oh my
And
god.
it just keeps shitting and stuff.
Oh,
and
and it literally, you're right, I forgot about the fact that it literally poops. And, like, you feed it on an app, and if it eats enough, it poops. And it just says the weirdest thing, like, it's supposed to be AI where it gives spontaneous responses, and then it'll just be like, ooh, I farted, or something weird.
Oops, I'm so silly.
Yeah.
Just stupid, like.
So dumb. They're called perpetual pets because they'll never die.
Yeah, literally the start of the intro was like, oh, you love your pets, but then they die.
Yes.
But not our pets. They
Yeah.
live longer than you.
Yeah. Literally such an unhinged. Could you imagine seeing that ad?
God.
Like, devastating.
It's insane commercial.
I don't know if you noticed, one of them really looked like Sonic the Hedgehog. I was like, is that Sonic? I feel like
I mean, maybe they could have just based, some inspo.
gotten some inspo.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it kind of, honestly, if you think about it, looked a lot like Sonic the Hedgehog, the first iteration before they revamped.
Horrifying.
Remember that monstrosity?
What did they call him? Was it just Ugly Sonic?
It probably was. It probably
Sonic.
was. Because it was Ugly Sonic.
I saw a tweet. I saw a fucking post the other day, and it was, remember when we saved Sonic? I always forget how fucking bad it was.
So bad.
It was so fucking
so bad. I mean, they made it was like 4 billion times better. They did
they
page
did a great,
one rewrite.
Yeah.
It was, they
good
did
on
good.
them for redoing it.
Yeah.
Because,
Thank God. A mess. So the ad transitions to a family driving in a snowstorm. The parents are bickering because the car keeps skidding on the road, and the mom wants to stop and wait out the storm. The daughter in the back seat, her name is Katie, and she's distracted by her perpetual pet, which ends up flying across the car during one of the like scary skid moments. And so the daughter acts a fool and takes her seatbelt off to get the thing, and the mom is like, no you don't. So the mom takes off her seatbelt, puts her back in her seat, and of course at this point in time is when the car is ran by a snowplow.
Yeah, it was pretty, it was head on.
Yeah, it was head on. They like look out and it was right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, the dad had his seatbelt on, but like I'm pretty sure the mom never clipped back her seatbelt in.
Yeah, I don't know if she would have had time.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but it was, yeah, I assumed there would be no survivors. However,
that's what I
yeah,
assumed too. 'Cause I was like, oh,
God,
yeah.
horrible. What a nightmare. Anyway, so...
Moving on.
Yeah. The scene changes again to a robot toy company, aka Perpetual Pets, like, I think it's called...
Fundy, right? Fundy something?
Fundy or something like that,
Fundy.
yeah. Where a team of 3 works on an unauthorized project for an AI doll. We see that they received a fancy silicone face mask for the doll, which they put on, and it then falters, and the face is doing, like, this weird twitch thing.
Yeah, twitching its mouth.
Yeah, it's looking real funky. And they're trying to fix it when, all of a sudden, their boss is, like, banging down the door, trying to get in, and it's like not opening to his badge, and they decide that they're gonna let the boss in because clearly, like I said, unauthorized.
They're not supposed to be working on this. They're using corporate money.
Yeah, $100,000 of corporate funding.
Yeah,
could you imagine just being able to order $100,000 of supplies?
I tried to work on this fucking giant AI dolls.
No, unreal. Like, and also, who's in the finance department that they're not recognizing this?
No.
God forbid at my job, if you try to spend $10 over budget, goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, can't imagine. So Gemma is the lead on this project. She's our main girl, and I consider her the main character. And,
I'd say so.
Yeah. She authorizes him access to the lab and then decides to go into this impromptu sales pitch on the doll they've made since she has no other choice at this point.
Right. Because it's just strung up for everyone to see. So obviously he's going to see this
like it's
doll.
Jesus Christ on the crucifix.
Like,
it really is.
What the hell is that?
It's
terrifying.
An abomination. And you also see at one point, like, behind the doll's eyes, you get kind of this glimmer of like a blue screenish, very AI-y perspective. So the one of the trio, his name is Cole, he forgot a vital aspect during installation.
Yes.
And the doll's head explodes.
Yep.
And I feel like you've spent $100,000 of materials and you're gonna forget the most basic function.
Right. Yeah. Like, because they were going to test it out and she just starts talking and just, I forget what he forgot to put in. But yeah, it's just like, what are you thinking? But I don't know. Maybe they weren't prepared to test it that way. But...
Clearly, but I think it was even something that was supposed to be done before he even put the mask on the face. Like, I don't know. He messed up. The boss is furious. Yeah. He's like, do your actual job. Because what their actual job is, they need to make a cheaper version of the Perpetual Pet to outcompete their competitors. Yeah. Because they have like a furries out.
Yeah.
That's like half the price.
Right.
And... this is when you find out that the reason why it's so expensive is because Gemma has incorporated a listening device on every Perpetual Pet to record children's speaking patterns, which was in effect supposed to help this AI doll that she's created, M3GAN, which stands for Model 3 Generative Android. So they are going to use that. And then he's like, don't tell me now that you have recording devices in these freaking dolls. Yeah. Like, could you imagine?
Yeah, because they definitely did not include that anywhere. No! Saying, oh, when you buy a Perpetual Pet, it's going to listen to your fucking kids.
Could you envision, like, first of all, I would never buy that for my child because it seems like a nightmare.
No, yeah, that's what scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's a horrifying device. It also is giving them more screen time, whatever.
I know.
Whatever your opinions are about screen time.
Honestly, I can imagine eventually getting some shit like that just because of how AI is right now.
Oh,
like,
my God.
I can definitely see some Furby fucking thing.
No way, dude.
You can like talk back and forth.
I'm gonna hide in the woods before that happens. I can't. You're right, but no. I'll be like, I'm sorry, those don't exist in our tax bracket.
No.
It's at this point, after he storms out, the boss storms out, Gemma gets a phone call from the hospital. Yeah. Presumably, she learns at this point of the death of her sister and brother-in-law. That's the people from the beginning. And that the daughter, Katie, survived the crash with minor injuries. So Gemma has temporary custody of Katie with the intention of it becoming permanent. Gemma brings Katie back to her house, where we learn that she lives in a smart house, which was hilarious because I loved this bit when she enters the home and she has like this little robot, like how people have like Alexa or whatever, but it's called an Elsie. And it's like, you have 5 Tinder notifications. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Elsie, turn off.
It's like, oh, that's hilarious. But
she hottie.
Yeah, she's very attractive. Yeah. I was tempted to put Smash for Smash or Pass, but I chose Pass, and I'll go into that more later because I was not happy with some of her choices.
That's valid.
Yeah. So we also see that she has a super nosy next door neighbor.
Oh, God.
Who she clearly doesn't like very much. And at first I thought it was like playful that they didn't like each other, but it's clear, it's like there's animosity
Hatred,
there.
yes.
Yeah, they do not like each other. There's a hole in the fence. The dog keeps running
getting out, yeah.
through that hole. And Gemma is upset about it and just trying to get Katie inside because Katie obviously is not in a good place.
It's going through a lot, yeah.
She lost her parents. Sad. Obviously.
Because how old is Katie?
She's got to be like 7 or 8,
she's
right?
young, yeah.
I don't know. They don't really talk about what age she actually is, but she's very young.
Yeah.
And Gemma is not prepared in any way, shape, or form to take a child into her life.
And she's definitely never expected to have kids,
Yes.
ever. So, yeah, of course you're not going to be prepared.
No.
And it seems like her relationship isn't that close with
No, definitely
Katie
not very
or even
close.
her sister, so.
Right. So there's a part where Katie wants to play with a toy, but for whatever reason, Gemma didn't pack any toys like in a like go bag for her, which I just feel like that would be kind of obvious, but whatever.
At least something. Like, you work for a toy, and I think that's like part of it. Like, she works for this toy company, but she doesn't know anything about kids. Like,
no.
I feel like it's just
weird.
the norm for most companies.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough, actually. It is actually very reflective of life. I just didn't understand how she could be so stupid. Because I would just be like, at least have a good go bag. I feel like if you would, the least thing you do would be like, okay, what's your favorite toys? Let me put them in the bag so that you have that when you get to the place and then when you unpack the next day. Because at first I was thinking she didn't bring any toys, like she's a psychopath.
Right.
But then you learn the next day it was packed away in boxes. Yeah. Katie tries to kind of reach up and touch a collectible toy and Gemma's like, that's collectible.
Which I could feel that, but also if my niece lost her parents, I'd be like, you could have whatever you want. Fuck
like,
it.
okay, a couple $100. Even if it was a very expensive collectible toy, a couple $100 or whatever.
She's very wealthy.
She's gonna be fine. She's gonna be totally fine. You'll get another of that.
Yeah, that's no big deal.
So the next day, the therapist comes over, the state mandated therapist, to kind of observe Gemma and Katie together and make sure that is a good placement because, as we find out, the grandparents in Jacksonville, Florida are willing to take Katie in. But the sister gave custody to Gemma. It's during the not very chill therapy appointment that the therapist wants to have her play with toys. And
I feel like this therapist kind of sucks, but I also don't know anything about that. So
no, but she definitely didn't. She's being very judgmental.
Like, immediately
judgmental. And I'm like, you're not even going to pretend to be nice?
Right. And then, first of all, I don't know how long it was until, like, Gemma took her home. It could have just been, like, a day or so. And then, so she's not fucking prepared. She's never.
Because she said, like, she just started unpacking toys. Yeah. And that there were some toys unpacked. And then the therapist was like, well, what's wrong with, why can't we play with these? And points to the collectible toys. And it's like, okay, were you born under a rock? Do you not know what a collectible toy is? And when Katie says what a collectible toy is, the therapist acts like that's weird. And I'm like, have you not heard of collectible? Like,
I mean, some people are just like, it's a toy.
Ignorant.
Actually, it's a collectible. You don't understand.
Yeah, come on.
All my anime figures.
I know.
They're not toys. They're really expensive.
So basically, Gemma hits a breaking point and, like, grabs the box and just rips it open. And I'm like, you could have opened it like a normal human.
It's like, oh, Katie can play with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine. And, like, at that point, you just open the box like a normal person does. Because you open it regular. She, like, slices a hole through the middle of one side. It was very aggressive. But it made an impact. So I remembered it. The therapist leaves and they have dinner. After dinner, Gemma gives Katie, like, infinite screen time so that she can work on my short for Perpetual Pets project, the PP project. So,
that's a good name.
Thank you. Katie ends up interrupting at one point because it's clearly been hours and hours and hours, and she has a drawing she drew. I liked this scene. I thought it was cute.
It was cute, yeah.
It showed them bonding in a way, and you're like, oh, I could see how this maybe will work out. She's learning. She's trying her best. Yeah. And Katie is trying to, like, kind of bond with her a little bit too. And this ends up leading to the introduction of Bruce. And Bruce is the first robot that Gemma made when she was in college. It's very not AI proficient.
He looks, when you think of a robot,
that's what he looks like.
Yeah, it's,
it's like a very Star Warsy robot. Yeah,
exactly. And fun fact, he was all puppeteered.
Oh,
so they
very
actually
cool.
had puppeteers controlling him, so he wasn't CGI'd or animatronic.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
He's controlled, like, quote unquote, in the movie with gloves that she wears. And Katie said, quote, "If I had a toy like Bruce, I don't think I'd ever need another toy again." Brain blast. Gemma all of a sudden is crazy inspired to work on M3GAN again. And then we have a montage scene of her working on M3GAN, which somehow she happens to have $100,000 of supplies in her office or whatever.
Fucking guess, yeah.
So she builds M3GAN and
she just stole more money from
right,
the company.
right. She's like 200,000 with Bruce's help. There's a scene where like Bruce is working on it too. I'm like, how are you doing?
I know, because she has the gloves. I guess like
he has to be doing the exact same thing. Yes, it could work. But I was like, And
we love Bruce, though.
Right, Stan Bruce. A demonstration is set up for David the boss, where Katie and M3GAN pair. So Katie meets M3GAN the doll, who is horrific.
Like, she is, she's like a kind of like a porcelain doll.
Yes,
but just animatronic. Like, she's eerie, uncanny.
It's very Uncanny Valley,
which was intentional by the creators.
Okay, well, that's good. I thought that this was going to be an actress playing the doll.
Okay.
And that you would see, like, realistic mouth movements. But instead, it's literally just, like, up and down mouth movements with, like, actual words coming out. Yeah. So it's so weird throughout the movie. Yeah. As you're watching, like, she's just opening her mouth, like, once and, like, full sentences are coming out.
Yeah. So they did M3GAN 3 different ways. The first way is they have a 12-year-old actor who's a dancer and gymnast. And she was like, anytime you saw M3GAN walking around or anything, which if looked a little natural, is because it was a 12-year-old.
Interesting.
And she had a mask over her face.
Oh my God.
So she had this mask on her face, and then the face was controlled by animatronics. So the eyes blinking, the mouth opening, all that stuff. And then her hands and her head movements were puppeteered. So they had just a lot of people working. And so there were times where it's just M3GAN, like, torso up, and that's all animatronic and puppeteered. And then other times where you see full body, that's a 12-year-old actress controlling or being her. So it was very cool the way they did it, because when I first saw the movie, I was like, wow, I'm like, she looks pretty good. And I'm like, and they did a little bit of CGI too on the face, but they wanted to really minimize CGI for everything, just to make it more realistic.
I mean, it's a robot, and
so I feel like they did a really good job with her, and I'm like, they had to use an actress. Like, it looks too good when she moves, and they did. So.
Okay. Well, that makes sense in a later scene when she's actually dancing. So
there's a fun fact for that too.
Cannot wait. So there's this thing where M3GAN is like drawing a picture of Katie, and she turns the page around to Katie, and it's a blank page, and then she goes, and like knocks over a glass of water, and David, the boss, is in the booth. He's like, oh God, this is a mess.
Like,
she's
malfunctioning again.
But she knocked the water on purpose because the paper magically shows
this beautiful, stunning portrait.
Right, like an artistic portrait of Katie. And it's like, how did this, what happened? Did she just print it? She's a printer now with invisible ink.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because we are in a world with AI robots, but okay. But everyone is seemingly charmed and the boss is all in.
Yeah.
He's like, fantastic, write up some stuff for me in whatever timeline he set. He's like, we're going to show this to the board.
Yeah.
He wants to get it going ASAP before anyone can steal and there can be any leaks or whatever.
Yes.
So unfortunately, during an ad montage, we learn that M3GAN is only available in 6 skin colors.
Yeah.
When they said that, I was like, what? You literally have a magic printing paper thing, and you can only do 6 skin colors. And then I was like, you know what?
There's still some makeup foundations where it's like, 20 pale colors?
Right.
6 brown.
Right, exactly.
Here you go.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised.
You're welcome. Yeah, I was just like, okay.
Yeah, and M3GAN looks like a preppy, like, bitchy, cunty friend. Like, she would look at you and just trash your outfit.
She goes skiing in the Alps every winter.
I just love her design because I'm like, this is the best. She just has this look to her. And
she really does.
I'm like, they really killed it with this design.
They did a great job.
This is exactly the best look they could have had for this evil doll.
Agreed. We learn that M3GAN can teach kids. They can put the kids to bed, etc., etc., etc. And her friend Tess, who's working on the doll with her, is like, you're basically creating something to replace parents.
Right.
Which is pretty messed up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the point. And basically Gemma's like, this is a temporary method because we need Megan and Katie to spend as much time together as possible so that it pairs the best for the presentation coming up.
Because Tess is kind of like, you should spend more time with Katie and, bring all this stuff up. And she's pretty much saying, like, why you're creating this Megan to replace parenting when you should be doing it too. And Gemma gets offended. Yeah. Even though it's true. Yes. Tess is saying when she gets offended, and pretty much the excuse is that they need to bond more. Like, Megan's going to work better if she's hanging out with Katie a lot more. We
also find out that Gemma forgot to input parental controls and is unable to stop Megan from learning about death. Which is like they're trying to like stop it, and she's just like, "Oh, death is the end of life. Do I die?" And it's like,
because she was like strapped up and hearing this conversation. It's like, how did Katie's parents die? Like, oh, Megan, you're not supposed to know about that. And then she just starts looking up death and realizes it. And it's like, oh, like, what about this and this? And
things
learning
spiral
too quickly. Yeah.
Way too quickly. So at one point, Katie's like playing outside and Megan is watching from a window. Yeah. And you can see through her eyes, she's very analytical. She's taking in everything.
See like your emotional state.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So she's able to see your like top 5 emotions and the percentage of the emotions. And
I don't know how you...
No.
That's not.
Reading facial expressions? Sweat. I think she also checks like, because she can read where your body moisture is and stuff.
Megan knows a lot.
Yeah, Megan knows a lot. I mean, I know, but so Katie at one point loses an arrow that she was like a fake arrow she's playing, and she goes, "Megan, do you see it?" And so Megan's analyzing everything and realizes it went through that hole in the fence that dog always gets through. So Megan goes to grab the arrow, and the dog from the next door, Dewey, grabs onto the doll and starts playing with it. Yeah. And Katie's freaking out. She's trying to drag Megan back. It's like a tug of war between. Yeah. I thought Megan was going to be like gone at this point. I was like, she's dead. They have to start up from scratch. Katie is screaming, and then Katie ends up getting her arm gets bit by the dog. Yeah. And so she screams bloody murder. And that's when Gemma finally runs outside and realizes something happened. Right. And then Megan pops up all disheveled. Like twigs in her hair and stuff.
And she's just like, oh, Katie needs medical attention immediately. She's heating up. And it's just such an unserious, like...
It's so goofy. And there's this whole thing between Celia, who's the neighbor, and Gemma. They're fighting back and forth.
It blows my mind. I'm like, Gemma, you can't fix one fucking hole.
Seriously.
Both. I blame both-ish. Because if I was a neighbor and my dog kept getting out, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to build another fence. Yes. Then. Like, fuck this woman. She's not doing anything. I'm not going to get my dog's going to get in trouble. Yeah. Which he bit a fucking child. I would be devastated. Yes. But then, Gemma, it's a fucking hole. Right. You have money. Yes. But Gemma's obviously... head in the clouds. She's just
she only cares about the AI. Yeah. Right. And exactly, I would have definitely patched that hole if my dogs were constantly getting out or whatever. But also, like, let's be honest, a toy went through the hole and he wanted to play with the toy, and then a child's arm got tangled up in the mix. Like, it's an honest mistake.
I don't blame the dog.
No, I don't blame the dog either.
You know, Megan does look like a human. Her hand was in there. Yeah. So,
yeah. It definitely did
attack. Dewey went after a hand, but to be fair, it wasn't their yard. Yes. So, but the dog is not to blame.
No, I don't blame the dog. It's bad owners, not bad dogs. And I wrote, Megan better not kill the dog. And then the dog goes missing. Literally immediately after. Poor Dewey.
Well, Megan had to protect Katie.
I know, but I was just like, this poor dog.
I know. Dewey didn't deserve it. I know. But luckily, we didn't see anything.
Thank God.
I was so scared of that, because I knew. I was like, this dog's dead. This dog's dead. Yep. But they didn't show any.
Thank God. Great. Yeah, so
it's very insinuated, but she does grab him.
She does grab him. She tricks him by like replicating Celia's voice, and you can hear it's like there's a robot undertone to it,
but it's real creepy.
Yeah, it's real creepy. So the next morning, it's supposed to be the demonstration for the board, and Gemma's like, "You don't have to do it."
This scene was so annoying.
I really
was so frustrated with her.
It was literally like, just postpone it, like. just postpone it.
Like she got bit by a dog. Like,
right.
That's a serious...
It was a big bite.
Yeah.
That was a big dog. That was a big bite on her arm. And she's like, people did fly out for this, but you don't have to. And I'd rather you tell me now if you don't want to do it. You're the parent. Like, you're the quote-unquote guardian or whatever. This is your job to protect this child.
And you can see Megan, like, just eyeing her. It's just like,
Yeah, she was not thrilled. And I was like, you know what? You're right, Megan.
I'm on Team Megan.
Yeah, I'm on Team Megan here.
She's a little crazy, but you know what?
Yeah.
She's the only one actually being
she
there
cares.
protecting Katie.
Yeah.
So...
So during the demonstration for the board, Katie starts crying and she misses her parents,
I know,
which is so sad. And I was like, Gemma, go to her. But no, she just lets Megan soothe her.
Yeah.
And there's this like pretty impressive moment where she asks Katie for her favorite memory of her mom and then records it and plays it back for her.
Which
and
is
it's
really
like,
nice.
I'll keep your memories for you. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful. And it's very touching. And then Megan starts singing, which is horrible.
Dude, I was like, stop. Like, why is this movie like this?
Dude.
It was so funny.
In that moment, I was like, okay, honestly, it makes sense because kids love song. And so a kid's toy would have singing and stuff. But when it happened, I was like, shut up.
It was just so unexpected. It was just so funny.
Out of nowhere, just to start singing. I was like, get out of town. Get out right now. Could you imagine having that toy and it just starts singing?
I mean, it helped Katie.
It did.
So she felt better.
Just starts spontaneously breaking out into song when people are crying. Next time I cry, Demi, yeah.
I'm not making you cookies. I'm just going to start singing for
there we
you,
go.
So I'm sure it'll make you feel better. I mean...
It would definitely probably make me stop crying. Or it would just get way worse. I'd be like, God, stop. Please.
There's only one way to find out.
So the board was really moved and Megan and Katie hug.
It was a very impressive display.
I was like, that would
impress me.
Pretty impressive. After the meeting, we see that Kurt, who is the assistant to David, is stealing company information.
Kurt.
But this is actually like a red herring because the whole time, the whole movie, I'm thinking, okay, when is the stolen information coming up? Whatever. It's going to be referenced one more time and that's it. And I was like, okay, if that was on purpose, clever. If it wasn't on purpose, bad writing. So I'm gonna assume it was on purpose. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the dog scene was my deleted scene.
I would say so.
Yeah, no, thank you. So Katie clearly likes Megan more than she likes Gemma, which you would think is very unhealthy, and you should fix that. When the therapist meets them again, she's introduced the monstrosity that is Megan, and Megan at one point says to the therapist, like, you made her cry. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to kill the therapist.
She's immediately
real creepy. And the therapist talks to Gemma about attachment theory. She's like, listen, she's more attached to this doll than she is to you. That's not healthy.
Right.
And so this kind of spurs Gemma to decide to put Katie into school. She's like, okay, you need like some socialization. And Katie's like, I've learned more with Megan than I have ever at school because Megan spurts out information, whatever, which, that part's great. However, you definitely need to be around human beings.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's like a fun adventure school that I was like, oh, that sounds great. I would do that.
Yeah, it was cute. It's kind of like summer campy type of
vibe.
Yeah,
for sure. So Gemma is trying to convince Katie to go to the school and she's going to take Megan around diagnostics. And she refuses to be separated from Megan.
Like screaming bloody murder. God.
Oh, I forgot to mention that during the fight, that Katie and Gemma are having a fight like at the house, and we learn that the parental controls when Gemma is like turn off Megan, she doesn't actually turn off.
Yeah,
she like shuts down, but like fake shuts down, and she's also hooked into the smart house, and she made the lights flicker.
Yeah,
which for whatever reason Gemma did not immediately address.
Yeah,
but I would have been like not great.
I'm taking Megan back.
Right. So I think that might have been part of the reason she wanted to run diagnostics the next day. But Katie puts up a fight and Gemma gives in. She's like, fine, you can keep the doll, but the doll has to stay on the toy table.
Yeah.
So then Katie gets paired up with this boy who is clearly going through some stuff.
Yeah.
He's not a nice kid. No. He hurts Katie by like squishing like a prickly plant into her hands, and all of a sudden Megan's there.
Yeah, she's just into like the distance, just watching.
She's just standing there, and then he's trying to bait Megan into playing with him, and Katie was like, she's not going to play with you, she's paired with me.
Yeah.
So he picks Megan up and starts running with her and like throws her shoe off and slaps her in the face.
Yeah,
and
like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this kid is
future serial killer.
Right, exactly. This kid definitely needs hardcore therapy. Well, Megan grabs his ear and rips his ear off. Like, she stretches. Ears definitely can't stretch the way that ear was being stretched, but she stretches it and it snaps off his poor. Oh my God. And she starts chasing him. This is my most memorable scene because she gets down on all fours.
Yep.
And starts chasing him like a dog.
Like, yeah.
I was like, what?
So the actress, her mom, I think, sent the director a video of her running like that, and he's like, add it in. Do it.
Stop.
Yeah. So I was like, why did they make her run like that? But it was because the actress just could do it, and they're like, fuck it, it's weird.
Dude, that is hilarious.
It was like creepy but funny, and like,
it was
just
so
weird.
So
like,
strange. Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah. And so the kid is scared. He's running away, and he ends up falling down a hill and getting hit by a car.
Yep. Immediately on the road and just splattered.
Yeah. This poor freaking girl, Katie, is just surrounded by death. Could you imagine? Your parents just die by a car accident, and now this boy is hit at your new school and killed. So they have to give a statement. Then they go back home. Gemma's trying to sympathize with Katie. She's like, oh, he went to a better place, blah, blah, blah. The neighbor is blaming Gemma for the dog going missing, by the way. That night, as they're going to bed, Katie asks Megan if she pushed Brandon, the boy, onto the road, and Megan stands up and gives her a non-answer. She's like, I think we both learned a lesson today, or whatever. And it's like, girl, you just avoided that question.
Yeah.
And she says, Brandon did not go to a better place. Heaven is not for boys like Brandon. And it's like, girl, oh my God.
She might be a little right, but
damn. You know, probably not a great thing to tell a child.
No.
And then she proceeds to sing the song Bulletproof.
There's like, I would not have been able to pick one memorable moment because there's so many.
Bulletproof was probably, if it wasn't for the running on four legs, it would have been Bulletproof, because the fact that she just starts, I am titanium. Like, what are you doing? Why would that be your choice?
Megan.
Insane.
She's a crazy one.
She really is. That night, the neighbor is looking for Dewey, walking around the neighborhood, calling out, and she hears like a distorted crying noise. And she follows that noise into a shed, and of course it's Megan. And Megan kills her with a power washer.
Yeah, she fucks her up.
Which is like, she used a nail gun, a power washer. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, this poor woman. So then the next day, Gemma wakes up, the police are there, and she's like, oh my God, I didn't have anything to do with this freaking dog. And they're like, it's not about that. And you see a body bag getting rolled by. So she has to give her statement, and the officer is like, oh, weren't you at that event yesterday?
Where
and
the
she
kid
was like,
died?
Right. And she's like, why? Do you think I'm connected in some way? And they're like, nah, we just found out that they found an ear, so it's definitely not
they're
an accident.
Yeah, calling it a homicide.
Right.
Based on that.
So now she's getting suspicious.
Yeah.
Gemma's like, something is strange. So she decides to look up the data on Megan's hard drive, but it's corrupted and she can't see it. And all of a sudden Elsie, her little Alexa in her house, her Elsie is acting up, like asking her about her feelings or whatever. And she's like, you're not supposed to do that. Then she looks up and Megan is standing there. Dun, dun, dun.
Why are you looking at my files?
Yes. And she's like, oh, well, it's just like, it's not backing up properly. Yeah. But like Megan knows what's up. Mm-hmm. So Megan won't turn off, even though Gemma is saying, turn off. And she's like, just wait. So she has override.
And she's like, we were having a conversation.
Right.
Oh my God, dude, I would light her up on fire.
Exactly. So at that point, Gemma tricks her and is like, look at this pen, and then hits a switch on her head that turns her off. She like bubble wraps and then duct tapes her and throws her in the trunk.
Yeah.
And Katie goes ballistic, screaming, needs to be with Megan, kicking the seat.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so annoying, but also very accurate to how kids act when they're having tantrums.
Yeah.
But also, this is so annoying.
Yeah. But
and
also,
I would lose my
mind. Megan's been the only thing that
she's
been able to connect to. So
since the death of her parents, fair. So she's basically like, suck it up, Buttercup. Sorry. Yeah. Megan has to run diagnostics. There's something wrong with her. And he's like, you don't throw something away just because it's broken. You fix it. We get back to the facility where everything happens, and you find out that M3GAN sells for $10,000. And I was, in my head, was like, who could even afford that? Because, like, that's not even upper middle class money.
No. I mean, just millionaires. 10,000
right,
for a fucking doll?
Yeah.
But
it's almost the price of a used car.
Yeah,
like,
their whole thing is like, it's the only toy you'll ever need.
Do you spend... I hope I don't spend $10,000 on toys on my kid. God.
No, especially not a fucking giant AI doll.
Absolutely
that
not.
Looks like your
I was like, you'd have to, yes, you would have to like do monthly payments. It's like getting a new roof on your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a doll for your child.
One doll.
The therapist is there again, and Katie slaps Gemma across the face in front of the therapist, and she's like, give us a minute. And the therapist is like, yeah, sure, no problem. The kid has like scissors in her hand. Like she's ready to attack. Like, yeah, she's going through it. And Gemma and Katie have this heart-to-heart that goes really well, where she's like, I should have been there for you more. Yeah. You're going through the hardest experience anyone could ever go through. I'm so sorry. And it really touches Katie, and they decide that they're going to go home.
Right.
So they get in the car, they're escaping, they're on the move.
Yeah.
And in the diagnostics room, the other two, Tess and Cole, are hooking up M3GAN to the whole system to figure out what's wrong with her. They're skeptical that anything's happening. And Gemma calls Tess to be like, hey, just letting you know we're out of here. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And you realize that Tess is responding, except it's not Tess, it's M3GAN responding through the phone. They're running diagnostics, and Tess and Cole notice that they can see that M3GAN had intercepted the phone call. And as they notice that, all the machines shut off. And they're like, oh my God, M3GAN is hooked into the system. We have to unhook her. You have to remove the cables. So Cole goes to remove the cables. And then M3GAN, right when he's about to pull the last one, M3GAN starts strangling him with like the cord that she's hooked up with. And Tess has to run up there with a saw and cut him down so he doesn't get hung.
Yeah.
Ugh. And M3GAN explodes part of the lab.
Yeah.
She like hits something flammable and then lights it on fire or whatever and walks out. And then this actually, I probably should have put this as my most memorable scene because this is absolutely unreal. M3GAN is walking and David sees her and she just starts doing this freaking dance. Like she breaks into this dance.
Yeah, I mean this was all over TikTok.
Was it?
So, yeah, it was a TikTok dance, the M3GAN dance.
Oh
so
my God! Of course
it got very popular with teenagers, which is why it's PG-13 because they wanted teens to go see it. It got very popular with them. So there is an unrated version, which isn't that much extra. It's just a little gorier at some parts, but it's all the same shit. But yeah, so that's why it was PG-13.
That's not surprised by that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, she ends up grabbing a paper cutter and turning it into a machete and starts chasing David. David's running. He sees the elevator opening up, and Kurt, who is his assistant, is in the elevator. He had gotten him a kombucha because David was having a hissy fit. And David's like, hold the elevator. And Kurt closes the elevator on. So she stabs David from behind with this machete paper cutter. Very strong paper cutter. She stabs him and his body blocks the elevator. And then she starts basically describing how she's gonna frame Kurt for the murder of David because of him stealing all the files.
Yeah.
And then she's like, of course you would feel guilty, so you would kill yourself. And he was like, no, I wouldn't. And she like stabs him through the head.
Yep.
So that's the only reason why that was brought
He was
up.
stealing files for fun, pretty much.
Right.
To see if he could do it. But yeah, so he wasn't actually sending them to people. He was just doing it for himself, I guess. But who knows if eventually, you know, because he was treated like shit.
Yeah. Gemma escapes the facility and obviously shows up at Gemma's house. So M3GAN and Gemma have this confrontation, and M3GAN's like, what happened to all those long talks we used to have? Blah,
How
blah,
you were
blah.
my friend.
Right. She's like, I'm just trying to help raise our child, which I was like, you're what? Girl, I couldn't believe that Gemma didn't address this. I was like, she is not your child, but I could see why she would think that in some way. So Gemma is able to temporarily short circuit her by slamming a glass of water over her head, which causes her to act really jerky and have these horrible movements.
Creepy,
and she stops for a moment. She gets away. She's chased into her robotics studio where she's like throwing everything on the ground. And I'm like, there has to be something in there you could use as a weapon. It doesn't make sense that she is throwing everything on the floor because this crazy robot is able to get over every obstacle.
She can do anything.
So they're like hand-to-hand combat. There's several times where Gemma almost dies. Mm-hmm. She butchers M3GAN pretty badly with this like saw thing.
Yeah.
And cuts her head open and part of her hair comes off.
Like she's half bald now.
Yes. And you learn that M3GAN's like, she can't kill Gemma because if she kills Gemma, Katie's going to go to the parents in Jacksonville.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So M3GAN instead is going to paralyze Gemma, make it look like she had some sort of horrible accident, which caused her to bite off her own tongue. And so she would be unable to speak, paraplegic. And she's like, see how helpful I am then. Yeah. And I was like, that sounds like the world's worst nightmare. Could you even imagine?
Horrifying.
So Gemma thinks she's about to have her life taken from her, essentially. And Katie shows up. And M3GAN's like, come on, let's do this. We're family. Do it with me.
Yeah, she's like, I really didn't want you to see this.
Right. And so you're watching through M3GAN's eyes a little bit, and you can see the emotional readings, and they're kind of going all over the place, but then trust comes up to the top, and it's almost at like 100. And Katie is like, okay, I'll help you. And Gemma's like, no, don't do this, Katie, because this is Katie's villain origin story to her in this moment. Except then Katie brings her fists up, and she turns on Bruce, and she uses Bruce to rip M3GAN in half. But that's not the end.
Nope.
Because M3GAN is still able to function since her brain, quote unquote brain, is still functioning. So there's more hand-to-hand combat, more fighting until eventually Katie stabs the brain and M3GAN is gone for. So they're walking out to the entryway of the house and the police show up. They hear the sirens and the coworkers get out of the car and Gemma smiles and they like have this moment.
Yeah.
And they forget about Elsie, who is in the background, and you see turns on slowly because we're getting ready for M3GAN Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah. I was like, I think that it was like leaving an opening. I don't know if there's going to be a second movie.
I think there's supposed to be a second one. I don't know how they'll do it. I mean, I don't know.
M3GAN takes over the world.
Yeah, I guess. You can always do stuff with AI stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. You know, I think the first one was like iconic because it was a killer doll movie other than Child's Play, and it was just goofy, and it had I think a pretty nice story with Gemma and Katie.
Yeah,
you know, that whole separate storyline. It wasn't just a slasher film, but then the second movie, I don't know, she's just gonna be connected to everything.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know because I feel like in horror movies they always end up having a part 2 or whatever, and it's just like, okay, let's see.
Always leave it open, and it's like, why?
Let's just have a nice little bow on it.
Leave it. Yeah,
it's okay. We defeated the AI robot creature.
Yeah, we're fine.
I don't know how, because she created the doll, I would think that she would get in trouble in some way, shape, or form. Gemma would have some liability.
There has to be.
Like, I don't understand. There's no way you end up with that child at that point. No. You invented a killer robot and then used it to nanny the child that you have custody of.
Like, all the shit that happened in the fucking facility.
Right.
So many workers are dead because of M3GAN. I'm like, there's no way.
Right. Like, yeah, you didn't do it yourself, but you didn't set up the parameters for this doll to be utilized safely.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you didn't do the play testing enough. There was not enough diagnostics run. There was everything. This was so unethical.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just gonna be Gemma in jail, I guess.
Yes. They'll find a way. I'm sure Gemma won't be in jail.
Yeah.
She'll have magically have had whatever. She was in front of legal at one point, so maybe she was like, I am not responsible for any malfunction in the doll.
Yeah.
Which would have been smart on her part, too.
Right. So anything's possible. I guess we'll find out eventually if it actually does happen.
Yeah. So main character, I said pass because I don't feel like Gemma was a good parent figure. And I feel like, do you need to be a good parent to be smashable? No. But in this case, she just did so much wrong that I was like, for someone so smart, you're so dumb.
Yeah, I think she grew towards the end.
Yes.
But
she did, but not enough.
It's still
right.
They were very questionable. Like, she just used Katie's trauma to push forth this doll, and it's like, that's fucking awful. That's awful. So
I also just like, I wouldn't personally go after anyone that into AI. There's a little bit.
I don't like nerds.
No, it's not that. It's just like, there's a level of techiness that's too much.
Too much.
Where it's like, okay, you don't need everything to be smart.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, it's a little much. I mean, she wasn't crazy, but I was like, all right.
I could see her having everything just
yeah.
AI.
Yeah, Bluetooth, you know, whatever. Like, okay, let's be humans a little bit. Main villain was obviously a pass. Like, it's a robot little girl. Like, a little girl robot. Disgusting. No, thank you. How lucky are you to survive this situation? I was very confident in myself. I wrote 8.
Okay.
Partly because I would not have that much connection to the internet.
That's fair.
I would just live in the woods, be like, I'll never, whatever. But I also would never get an AI toy. I say that now. Maybe I'll change my mind.
I know.
I don't envision myself getting an AI toy for my child. It's just, I've seen enough of these movies now.
Right. Anything that can move like that.
Yeah, it's very Black
That can
Mirror.
get smart. And I'm like,
No, if it can increase its intelligence.
Yeah.
Because by the end, Katie was like, turn off M3GAN. And she's like, I am my own primary user now.
Yeah, she's like, I'm in charge, bitch.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck. Oh, Imagine a perpetual pet like that.
Dude. That little chompy
oh my
mouth.
God. Oh, no, his little teeth.
Horrifying. I would recommend to a non-horror fan. Okay. I don't feel like it was that scary.
No.
I don't think it was like the best movie ever made, but I think it was interesting in the same way that Black Mirror is interesting. Yeah. I gave it 3.5 hearts. Okay. I feel like if I had liked Gemma more and I felt more related, like I could relate to her, I understand that that's the reason why this movie existed. It's the same issue that I have with all horror movies. And so I don't know that I'll ever get a 5-star horror movie because I'm like, they all have the one thing I don't like, which is just a fallible,
flawed character.
Right. Well, I don't mind flaws in characters, right? I guess I just don't like fatal flaws in characters. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy this movie. I don't know. It has like a 93%.
Yeah.
I think it's a little high.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's fun. I really like M3GAN's character. I think she's a great villain. But, I mean, I thought it was good. You know, I think it had a nice story with Katie and dealing with, like, grieving and children. And, like, Gemma had, like, a pretty nice-ish arc, even though she's still not great. You know, it had more to it than just slasher killer doll, which I appreciate.
And I think it definitely brings more to the table than just camp because it talks about issues like, you know, the ethics of AI and toys and using company funds appropriately.
Don't sneak around with company funds to make a horrific AI doll that you have not fully tested. No. So, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's other trivia. I know, so the dancing scene, because the actress was a dancer, she's like a professional dancer, like 12 years old. She's like winning awards in New Zealand. The director wanted her to do the dance, so he had her work with a choreographer and make some dances, and he just added it in. He didn't tell people. He was like, just do it. It'd be funny. And yeah, so it was like not last minute, but they just added that in just to do it, and they almost didn't include it in the trailer because he wanted to leave it a surprise. But then Universal was like, no, you gotta put it in the trailer. And it's probably good he did because it blew up because of that fucking dance.
Right.
It blew up so much that Universal Studios has like M3GAN dancers at horror nights.
No.
So people dress like M3GAN, they dance like on the street, which is like so cool. I would have loved to see that in person.
Ow.
But yeah, I remember there was so much promotion of people dressed up. Like they'll have like models dressed as M3GAN.
Oh, because they did do in the movie. There was when they were prepping for the big release at this live streamed event. There were like models shown dressed as M3GAN and stuff.
So yeah, there was a lot of cool promotional things they did for the movie. I think it made a good amount of money because the budget was really low. Surprisingly, I don't know how because they.
Well, I guess if you're not doing a lot of CGI, that automatically takes it down a bit.
Yeah,
I don't think that there wasn't like that much change in location either.
No. And I think having the actress play M3GAN helped a lot too, because they didn't have to worry about like making a full animatronic fucking puppet to steer. So I think that helped a lot. And I don't know if you recognize Gemma from Get Out. That was her first breakout movie. And I was watching.
I was wondering what she was from.
Yeah, she's so familiar. I couldn't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's from Get Out.
Oh.
The little girl is from Haunting of Hill House.
Which I never finished.
You have to finish.
I know. I only watched one episode. Well, I had to stop because I didn't want to watch it alone, and Travis cannot emotionally handle scary things. So
we can watch it together.
Okay.
That's fine. Because have you seen any of his other stuff? The director?
No, like because he does locking. Is it not Bly Manor?
He did Fall the House of Usher recently.
Oh, right, that one's new.
And then Midnight Mass, which might be a little traumatizing for you with your Catholic trauma.
Fair enough. You did talk to me about that, and it did sound interesting. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll put that on the back burner for now. Haunting of Hill House first, and then
that's the scariest one though.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like TV shows. Maybe I don't know.
It's very good. I mean, it's more than just spooky scary. Like it has a really good story and great acting. So
maybe that'll get my 5 stars.
Yeah, that might be.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't. Maybe
I'm sure I could find one for you. It has to have romance though, and there's definitely some out there. So.
Yeah.
One of our threads should be guaranteed 5 stars.
I'll just make you rewatch Pride and Prejudice because I know that's a guaranteed.
Can't do that.
I'm sorry. You're right.
You're right. I'll work.
I'm sure I could find something you would like.
I'm sure you could.
Definitely. Not off the top of my head though. I'd have to really look into it because you're tricky.
Tricky.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's all the trivia stuff I had.
Yeah.
But.
It was good and it was well made and interesting, and yeah, I didn't hate it. I
like killer doll stories. Yes, I think they're fun.
I appreciated the camp of it.
Yeah.
I did ask Demi specifically not to give me a traumatizing movie for this week. I was like, listen, it's been a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. But what's funny is I finished that movie, right? So I watched it last night, of course, last minute. And the movie ends. I'm like, okay, let's go to bed, dogs. And Demi already knows I let my little gremlins outside. Yeah. And I hear this little yip. And I was like, no. Oh my God. And I open the door and they won't come inside. And what do I smell but a skunk, the perfume of skunkery. And I was like, twice in 1 year?
Dude, those girls.
Those girls. They're trying to kill me.
You need to, I don't know what you need to do in your yard.
Well, I'm about to get crazy floodlights. Well, that's the thing. It's not even just in our freaking yard. It's the neighbor's yards. I one time saw it in the neighbor's backyard and the skunk went up on its hind legs and I stopped. I got Ruby I picked Ruby up and ran. And that was a week after the first skunk incident.
That's great. Skunk incident.
And so now I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to get floodlights all over the yard. Yeah. Apparently citrus peels are a thing. Some of them, they were ammonia-soaked rags. I was like, I'm not putting ammonia-soaked rags around my yard.
Yeah.
But I have to figure out something. I'm going outside with them now because we have the fenced-in backyard. So I've just been it's cold. I'm like, go ahead, go potty. Yeah. And then now I can't do that anymore. I don't know what it is, but I'm just twice in 1 year is more than I had ever hoped to experience in my lifetime.
It's a new year.
You're right. You're right. It is.
This is their first skunk
of 2024,
yeah, and maybe they'll not have another incident for the whole year.
Oh, I freaking hope so, dude. Because I was like, it was already such a nightmare back in August when they had their last one, and I was like, that was my biggest nightmare ever. I was like, if I have a dog, I just never want to have to deal with having a skunk.
But that one was really bad because you had to shave poor Ruby's fucking head.
It was bad because this one at least, the spray must have gone between the dogs because there was nothing there was no oil area on either dogs. Ruby got hit in the nose on the last one. That poor freaking girl, and I didn't realize it was on the nose. And I did this hydrogen peroxide bleach first, which is just to kill the scent. Yeah. But of course, all her black spots turned to tan. And then I shaved her, and I did such a bad job shaving her. She looked so bad. She looked like a little orphan dog. She was so sad, and her face was so pathetic. So hopefully that never happens again. I could not sleep at all last night. I was like, oh my God, I slept horribly. So, but I can't. And then I did have nightmares, and I can't.
About Megan, or
well, no, about skunks. Oh. So I had a nightmare about skunks. I can't really remember what happened. I had a nightmare that I went to your wedding, and your wedding was in the city, and I had to park at a parking garage, and I couldn't figure out the paying system. And so I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go to the wedding. I can't be late to the wedding. Yeah. So I showed up at your wedding, and then you're leaving the wedding, and I was like, okay, well, maybe you can help me figure out this parking thing. And then And then all of a sudden my family showed up and I was like, I guess my car will get towed.
It's such a goofy nightmare because it doesn't feel like one, but parking situations are always a
so
fucking nightmare. So
stressful.
I totally would have woken up in sweat, like,
my car.
I had a dream with you the other night,
Uh-huh.
and you were looking at my phone because I was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna trade it in for a different phone," but I'm worried because you see a little scratches on the middle part. And you take the phone, and I have a flip foldy, one of those fancy flip ones, and you're looking at it, and you're like, I don't see anything, but you're pushing the back of it, and it snaps in half. And I'm like, Megan! And the way you responded was like a dog that knew he did something bad, and you just got quiet and went over to the couch and just sat and looked at me. And I'm like, what do I even say, dude?
Stop.
Yeah, dude. It was.
That's amazing.
And I woke up and I was like, thank God that was a dream. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't be mad at Megan. But also, what the fuck was she thinking?
Dude, I can't believe I reacted like that in your dream. That's amazing. The next time I do anything bad in your life, I'm just gonna be like, just slunk over to the couch. Just
like my dog like Diego just
time
like,
out.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Oh my God.
It's so funny.
Amazing.
So yeah, different type of dreams.
Yeah.
I love that we're dreaming of each other.
Yeah,
so
that's so cute.
Really cute.
We're in each other's lives, day and night, bad and good. Our night personas are not good.
That's when Brett says Dream Demi's an awful person. So every time he has a dream with me, I'm like just a shitty person. Like I do something or I'm really gross. Like the one he said he had to shave my butt. And I was like, why is that so awful? He's like, no, it wasn't your butt. He was like, it was disgusting. Like, it was such a horrible butt, and I had to shave it. And then he's like, Dream Demi's the worst.
I can't believe you had a dream like that. I can't imagine.
Dude, I'm like, why would you dream about shaving my ass? Like, what does that mean? I should look in the dream journal.
Yes, look in the dream journal. Oh my God. My husband wants to shave my butt. What does that mean?
Butt. Shave.
Oh my God. Incredible.
There has to be something.
I mean, you can definitely put the parts together to make something.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So next week.
Next week,
the movie's gonna be Penelope. So Penelope, I'm sorry, the transition from baby one.
No cuts here.
To Penelope. Penelope is born with a pig snout. Ooh. Because you didn't know that?
I knew she had a pig nose. I didn't know she was born with it. That's awful.
She was born with it because her family was cursed by a witch. And the only way she can overcome this curse, this poor girl who did nothing wrong and her family did. The only way she can overcome this curse is to find true love. Aww. So her mother sets up a series of arranged dates with various suitors, hoping that the money the family has is enough to woo them over in spite of her little piggy nose.
Can't be that bad though.
Her pig nose?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cute. It's like kind of cute, but
she's cute. The actress is the Gilmore Girls actress? Or
no.
No? Who am I thinking?
No, it's not her. But it is somebody. Hold on. Of course it's somebody.
It's a person.
It kind of looks like her. Christina Ricci.
Yeah. Oh my God. Jesus. It does look like her though. But
yeah, when she has the mask on over her, it does look like her. But her nose, it's like a little pig nose. Yeah. So it is kind of cute. Yeah. But it's they
could have really gone dramatic with it.
Yeah. I remember watching it when it came out, and my best friend at the time, this is my previous best friend to you, so it was a failed best friendship. I got rid of. Yeah, who you removed very quietly.
I pulled a Megan.
She hated it, so I'm curious to see your thoughts.
Okay. All right. Did you watch it before? Penelope?
I've seen it. I saw it in 2008 when it came out.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're on point with these romance when they first come out.
Oh, like you've seen girl, I know.
Shit. I saw it when it came out. Okay.
There are romances I don't see when they come out, but usually I'm pretty much like, well, there was a point in time in my life when that was like a lifeline for me. I was like, romance, pour down upon me. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm excited.
Yeah. So this has been How Do You Watch This? a movie review podcast. You can catch us on Instagram, TikTok, Discord, Threads, in theory, Gmail. How do you watch this? Mm-hmm. Pretty much everywhere, unless it's how do you watch, but whatever, you'll find us.
Yeah.
If you want to. On Instagram, we have our milkshake, which give you links to everything, so I recommend going there first.
It's a fun time.
Next week, we are reviewing Penelope as part of the second... I was about to say what our next movie was, and I was like, we already said it's part of our second in the title with a girl's name.
Yes.
Series. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you think about the new setup for the podcast, or don't, because if you don't like it, we're probably still going to keep doing it, so...
You can give us little minor suggestions.
Yeah, like little things. But if you're like, Megan has to watch a horror every week, like, it's not going to happen because it wasn't great. It was a lot. Okay? My brain can only do so much.